This is Segway Addict. This is my music critic channel. My name is Rami Nolta. I've been wanting to do this channel for a while, and I finally decided it was worth starting. So this will be my first video. I will be, throughout this channel's lifespan, I will be creating band discographies, rankings, specifically album rankings, as well as album reviews. Any new albums that come out from an artist that I really enjoy or love, I will review that album. And I usually use a ranking score out of 10, and I do use decimals, usually between like 0.2, 0.5, 0.7 to that. Nothing super specific, but that is my ranking criteria. So anyway, for this first video, I will be covering my favorite band, my all-time favorite band, Green Day. It's pretty obvious that they're my favorite band. But anyway, they have 13 studio albums, and those will be the albums that I will be covering in this video. I will be going from worst to best, in my personal humble opinion, and just remember that this is my opinion. Anybody can disagree with me, that's fine. Let's just get started. At number 13, at Green Day's worst album, this should come to no surprise to anybody that knows the band at all. Father of All Motherfuckers. This is their newest album from 2020, early 2020, right before COVID. And this album was just very disappointing. Just look at the cover art. It shits all over the American Idiot, the iconic American Idiot album cover. There's just a unicorn here. It's just very not tasteful. It's just very, and the album itself is very generic, very rushed in production, it feels like, and there are a couple songs on here that are just flat out not good. With that said, its short runtime actually comes as more of a strength, I feel, because 10 songs, 26 minutes, it is the shortest Green Day album by a long shot. And there are a couple songs on here, so obviously I mentioned a couple songs that I hate. I Was a Teenager is flat out, in my opinion, the worst Green Day song to date. It is just awful. I mean, the hook is somewhat ear candy, but aside from that, like, the lyrics are awful, generic, just pandering towards younger audiences, it feels like. And it's just very, very kind of offensive and lazy. Oh Yeah, the chorus is irritating as hell, and it's a weird song for Green Day to have their first sample. I mean, they sampled a Joan Jett song, and it's just not very well done, although I will say the verses of Oh Yeah are pretty good, and so I feel like that somewhat makes up for the irritating chorus. Anyway, aside from those, Fire Ready Aim is a boring song, very pretty basic. Meet Me on the Roof is not nothing special. Junkie is on a High is a great song, in my opinion. It's very different for Green Day, but I find it very enjoyable, and the message is fairly intelligent, I would say. Graffiti, the final track on the album, that's the last one I will touch on in this review. But Graffiti is great. It's the best song on the album by far, in my opinion, and it's just a great, fun song. The riff is great and catchy. The hook is amazing, and it's a somewhat uplifting song. Anyway, that's pretty much all I will touch on. This is Green Day's worst album, although I will say, in my opinion, Green Day has never made a bad album in my eyes, and this is, although it's their worst album, I would still give this album a solid 7.0 out of 10. Okay, coming at number 12, second worst album, is Uno. This is the first of the trilogy Green Day released in 2012. It's very, very generic, I would say. It's kind of standard pop punk, coming after 21st Century Breakdown, which is an amazing concept album. I will obviously get to that later. It's a big step down in quality. It's very bare bones, but with that said, it is a fun album to listen to. Nuclear Family, Stay the Night, those are both great songs. Carpe Diem. The only songs I would say I don't love would probably be Fell For You, Kill the DJ, Loss of Control, and Sweet 16. Those songs are pretty basic and don't have a ton to add to Green Day's catalog. That said, Kill the DJ is very fun. Troublemaker has a great guitar solo. Green Day's not very known for their guitar solos, but when they show up, like in Troublemaker, I would say they're pretty damn good. Best song of the album, I would probably say, is Let Yourself Go. It's a very fun, just angry song, anthem, and it's just, it's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable indeed. Oh Love, the last song on the album, is, it's rather long. It drags on a little bit, but it's a beautiful song, and I'm a sucker for that chorus. So, I would probably give Uno a solid ranking of, let's say, 7.8 out of 10. I'll give 7.8 out of 10. Okay. Third to last, Green Day's debut album. This is technically a compilation of Green Day's debut album, 39 Smooth, 1991. Actually, I believe the original debut album was 1990. This compilation album was 1991. This is 1039 smoothed out slappy hours. Quite a mouthful. But this album is just classic Green Day. It shows the sign of an amazing band that is kind of just getting into to the groove of what it is for them to be a band, essentially. What it means for them to be a band. But this compilation album is much longer than the actual debut album, but I don't believe you can get the debut album on CD as it is. So this is a compilation of the EPs, Slappy, 1000 Hours, and I can't remember the other EP name. I believe it was, I think it was just Slappy, 1000 Hours, and then the debut album, 39 Smooth. But anyway, there is some amazing songs. This was the only Green Day album to not include Trey Cool, the drummer. The first drummer that was in this album was John Kiffmeyer. And it's not extremely obvious, although Trey Cool, again, is an amazing drummer, and I would definitely say he's an improvement over John Kiffmeyer. But the best song of the album easily is The Judge's Daughter, track 10. It's probably the greatest Green Day guitar solo. It is amazing. Most of this album is just kind of writing about girls and high school problems, so not super mature, but it's fun and relatable, and it's just a very fun album. I would give this album a solid 8 out of 10. And coming at number 10, Dose, the second album in the trilogy from 2012. This album is very experimental, I would actually say, especially coming after Uno. Dose is just a really fun time, and there are a couple songs in here that are just really unique for Green Day that they never tried doing again. I would say Fuck Time is a little cringy, but it's a fun song. Stop on the Red Lights Flash, amazing, angry. Lazy Bones, probably my second favorite of the album. The riff in the intro is amazing, and it has a very dark, moody tone to it, essentially. And I would say Nightlife, very experimental. Most Green Day fans hate it. I don't hate it. I don't really love it either. The Lady Cobra, the rapper, I believe, that Billy Joe Armstrong collaborated with for that song, is pretty painful to listen to, but the bass line is awesome, and I do enjoy Billy Joe's modified vocals in the song. The best song of the album, probably Stray Heart. Wow, That's Loud is definitely second or third. Stray Heart is a beautiful song, amazing bass line. Anyway, I would give this album rating a solid, I would say a solid 8.5. 8.5 is my score. Coming in at number 9, Trey. So the third album in the trilogy. In my opinion, it is the best, although it is relatively close It's not as experimental as Dose, but it is overall more consistent in quality, in my opinion. The only song I don't love on this album is probably, yeah, I'm not a big fan of 99 Revolutions, and I'm not a huge fan of Drama Queen either. But aside from that album, aside from those two songs, X Kid, amazing song. The Forgotten, the final track of the album, is a beautiful piano ballad that Green Day never exactly did again or previously. And there's just a lot of fun songs. Brutal Love, it drags on a little bit towards the end, but for the most part, it's a beautiful song. Um, Most of these songs are fun, pop punk, sex, drugs, and violence. Little Boy Named Train is not very special, I would say. But the clear standout of this album, and really the entire trilogy, is track 10, Dirty Rotten Bastards. This is nearly 7 minutes long. It is just a rock epic reminiscent to the American Idiot days. And it's just so much fun. There's like 3 separate stages of this song, and it is just it's a rock epic. It's amazing. You can't resist it. Anyway, I would probably give Trey a solid 8.7 as my rating. All right, so we've gotten past the good and great albums, and now we are into the phenomenal albums. These are near masterpieces in my eyes. Okay, so my coming in at number 8, Kerplunk, Green Day's sophomore album. I love this album to death. This is just so much fun to listen to. Production-wise, it's a slight improvement over 39 Smooth. This is the first album with Trey Cool, the drummer that Green Day has had since. He has a unique sense of humor that definitely shows on Dominated Love Slave, which is just a fun kind of gag on country music, the bad country music, I would say stadium country in my opinion. It's just a total parody of that, essentially. But that's just a really funny song. 2000 Light Years Away, iconic. There's just so many amazing songs on here. Christie Road, probably my favorite of the album. It's like top 20 Green Day. It is a beautiful, solemn song. It's very melancholic. It's just a very relatable song about escaping life and finding a place that you can just kind of call home outside of your home. It is just an amazing song, very relatable. Second favorite would probably be Who Wrote Holden Caulfield. This song was literally just written by Billy Joe after basically being forced to read Catcher in the Rye in high school, and he oddly enjoyed reading it and kind of had a lot of ideas about the main character, and then he kind of forgot. I don't know. I don't actually know if he forgot who wrote Catcher in the Rye or what that's about, but it's an amazing song. The chorus is so catchy and so fun to sing along to. But this album is nearly flawless. I would say the only thing that holds it back from a masterpiece are the final few songs of the album, which are they're basically B-sides, bonus tracks that were on their first EP, I believe. And they're definitely a huge downgrade in quality, and they really drag down the rest of the album at the end. But all the songs before that are amazing. It is just an amazing album. It is very underrated, I would say, as well. But anyway, I would give Kerplunk a solid 9.2, and at number 8. Coming in at number 7, Insomniac. This was the album following Dookie, which is, I believe, the best-selling album by Green Day, and it is obviously iconic. But Insomniac was a bit of a departure. I feel it was kind of a strike back from Green Day when they got all the flack for being called sellouts, which is total bullshit. It's like if you love music and you love what you do and you want to become successful and you want it to become your career, why be gatekept from making it your career? That's my point of view on it anyway. So Insomniac was a much angrier, much more straightforward punk album than Dookie. It's a very fun album to listen to. I gotta say, it is just Brat, what a great intro, so much fun to so much fun to sing along to. Geek Stink Breath. Oh my God, Geek Stink Breath is so the anger, the catchy as hell riff. It is amazing. Obviously, everybody knows Brain Stew. Brain Stew is probably still the big highlight of the album, but it has a great segue into Jaded. I love segues. That's why I call myself the segue addict. It's the good shit right there. But Walking Contradiction, the final song on the album, is very, very catchy, and it has a little bit I would say it's kind of the first song that Green Day started to have some political messaging towards. It's not exactly a political song by itself, but it has a few lines where they kind of just question the economy and like kind of make fun of some hypocrites in the political sphere. Um, but anyway, it's a very great album. I would probably give this rating a solid Insomniac, a solid 9.5 out of 10. Coming in at number 6, this might come to a little bit of a surprise to everybody, but this is Revolution Radio, Green Day's second most recent album. This came out in 2016. This was a huge return to form for Green Day, although I do love the majority of the trilogy. This is a very big step up in quality and production, very reminiscent of 21st Century Breakdown and American Idiot, and the kind of grandiose operatic style album, although this album is not a concept album and doesn't have any recurring themes really, aside from some small political messaging and just kind of a big return to form of Green Day in general. There are some amazing songs. Bang Bang, the lead single, shows Billy Joe Armstrong kind of coming into the mind of a shooter, of a mass shooter, and it is just expertly written, and it is just an amazing album in general from start to finish. Really, the only song that kind of gets on my nerves is Youngblood, but I can't really knock it. It's very catchy. There's just a few cringy lines in there. But Forever Now, another rock epic, kind of another return to form from American Idiot styles. Not as amazing as Dirty Rotten Bastards, though, I will say. But yeah, Bang Bang, probably easily the best single that Green Day has released since 21st Century Breakdown. Revolution Radio, the title track, is great. Outlaws is a beautiful, nostalgic song about youth. Bouncing Off the Wall is a great, angry temper tantrum. But anyway, this is just an amazing album, and I would give this album a solid 9.7 out of 10. All right, so we got through the second tier, essentially, phenomenal near masterpieces, and now we are in my humble opinion, the 5 masterpiece Green Day albums. Coming in at number 5, this might come to a bit of a surprise for me, is Dookie. This is Green Day's to many magnum opus. I do think it's not exactly overrated, but I think it overshadows several other Green Day albums that I think are better ever so slightly. This is an amazing album to basically come into their major label debut with. Quite a bit of diversity for a punk band, especially in '94. This album is kind of widely considered to change the music sphere, along with the other two punk-related albums that came out in '94, Offspring's Smash and Weezer's Blue Album. This is definitely a masterpiece. There's not a whole lot to say. Longview, by far the best Green Day song to ever come out of the '90s. That bass line is iconic. Just the pure angst that flows out of that song, especially that song, but the album in general, is just palpable. It is a Basket Case, great song, definitely overrated, does not, in my opinion, deserve to be the most popular Green Day song, but it is great song. Second favorite would probably be She, honestly. That bass line is also amazing, and it's just a great build-up, and yeah, FOD, a great kind of finisher with the acoustics leading into that bombastic blowout is just amazing. Burnout, a great intro song with just, again, pure angst. It's just very relatable 90s right there. Definitely makes me wish I was born back in the 90s, or 80s technically, but definitely wish I lived in this era. But I'm very glad to experience this music to this day. Coming in at number 4, in my humble opinion, is quite possibly quite possibly the most underrated Green Day album, Warning. This came out in 2000. It is kind of, I believe, the most commercially unsuccessful, the biggest commercial flop for Green Day. This followed Nimrod, which, was pretty successful, but definitely not by Dookie standards. But anyway, Warning is kind of a big departure and experimentation. It was kind of a lot of folkier elements. Billy Joe Armstrong said himself he wanted to, before this album came out, he wanted to write with acoustic guitar more often, and it definitely shows in this album. Biggest highlight, easily Waiting. Waiting is like my second or third favorite Green Day song. It is so relatable. It is just pure optimism, and for Green Day, optimism is hard to come by. This album is very hopeful in nature, kind of the first truly political Green Day album. This had a lot of sayings with Bush getting elected and the new millennium with Y2K. Kind of the title track Warning, the introduction is very very political, and it talks a lot about the government and how much you want to basically follow their lead. But obviously nowadays that is an interesting sentiment for sure. But Blood, Sex, and Booze, an amazing song about BDSM. Church on Sunday, a really fun song, and relatable for me personally. Fashion Victim, a great statement on the fashion industry. Castaway. There's just so many amazing songs. One last thing I will mention, Misery is by far and away the biggest sign of Green Day's, specifically Billy Joe Armstrong's songwriting, and how he improves on it in the next album, American Idiot. Obviously, it's kind of the first sign of him writing from a different perspective, and it definitely leads into a great concept album. So, Misery with, and I should probably mention the Latin influences, the Eastern European influences in that song. It's a great story and just a very unique for Green Day, for sure. Anyway, Warning, easily 10. Coming in at number 3, this was very close to number 4. Nimrod and Warning, very close together. But Nimrod is my number 3 as a final choice. This album is just iconic. It was somewhat overlooked in some ways. It was definitely overshadowed by how popular Good Riddance, Time of Your Life was. But the album in general, this is probably Green Day's heaviest album. Very angry, especially some songs like Platypus, I Hate You, which is amazing. I love that song to death. Reject is a song that just bleeds angst and anger. It is amazing. Take Back, definitely one of the weaker songs of the album. I used to hate it for a long time because of just the really weird vocals, but it kind of became a favorite of mine to some extent, even though it is probably one of the weaker songs of the album, but it's still a very good song. I really came around on those vocals. King for a Day, amazing live staple to this day. I'd love to hear it again. I have seen Green Day live once back in September, but they did not play it, sadly. But it is, just an amazing album in general. Good Riddance is not overrated in my opinion. It's an amazing song, a beautiful song, and even though it's sarcastic, it still has a great sentiment to it. Definitely misunderstood though. Prosthetic Head, the final song on the final track on the album. It's kind of a hidden track to some extent, therefore very underrated. It is my favorite of the album, easily. It is top 10, top 15 Green Day. It is just so epic, so just the chorus is so amazing and to sing along to, and that guitar riff in the verses is just so catchy. Very unique in sound, for sure. Hitch and a Ride, great riff. The Grouch, I have a T-shirt that's a very obscure reference to the Grouch, the six pack of Apathy. That's an amazing song. It's so funny as well. But there's a lot more experimentation. This is kind of when Green Day fully was just strayed away from their pure punk roots, and it's just a flawless masterpiece. I should mention Jinx and Hoshinka, an amazing segue to each other, and it's just both an amazing pair of songs, especially Hoshinka. Anyway, flawless album. flawless. Definitely one of my all-time favorites. Okay, now we're down to the top two. This is not exactly a close call, but this is hard to talk about for sure. 21st Century Breakdown. Green Day's second rock opera, 2009, released in 2009. This was, compared to American Idiot, this was a much more laid-back approach on a story. The story was much more convoluted and less detailed, but it laid paved a clearer way to display their politics, and the songwriting is possibly, I still go back and forth, but possibly the best songwriting of any concept album I've ever heard. It is just an amazing rock opera. This is easily the most diverse and eclectic of any Green Day album. They tried out so many styles and of music, and so much piano, so much everything. This is like just a phenomenal album. This is like easily my fourth or fifth favorite album of all time. This is the title track, 21st Century Breakdown. Those two different phases, the second phase especially, is just so much fun to listen to. You've got to crank that volume up to 11 for sure for that song. Know Your Enemy, easily my least favorite song of the album. It is definitely overrated. It should not be as popular as it is, but it's a catchy song. It's a fun song. Definitely not good enough to keep this score from being flawless. 10. Probably my second or third. Go back and forth between second and third favorite Green Day song. Restless Heart Syndrome is criminally underrated. It is one of the best Green Day songs. Period. That intro, those references to all of the pharmaceutical, just the pharmaceutical references all over the place. Amazing songwriting, all the instruments slowly joining in the song over and over again. It is just an amazing, and that guitar solo at the end is just peak rock, peak Green Day, but just rock in general, peak music. It is a feat to behold for sure. Every song in this, amazing. Anyway, easily 10, solid 10. Okay, American Idiot. Who would have guessed, right? This is my favorite album of all time, easily. This is just a flawless masterpiece in every sense of the word. This is iconic. Just every song amazing, from American Idiot to the final closer, What's Her Name? The story of Jesus of Suburbia is just an amazing coming-of-age story. I don't care what anybody says. If they say it's a dumb story, then fuck them, right? But it's just... This album definitely changed my life. It is the first album that I truly fell in love with. Jesus of Suburbia is my favorite song of all time. It is an amazing 9-minute epic. There's two 9-minute epics in this album. Homecoming is slightly longer. It is also amazing. Not quite as flawless as Jesus of Suburbia, though. Anyway, the story, just every single song is amazing, and the story is just... I don't really have much else to say, honestly. Just a flawless album from start to finish. Okay, well, anyway, those are all of the Green Day studio albums. 13, never made a bad album in my opinion. I will mention Shenanigans. This is Green Day's B-side compilation album from 2002. This is a good album. It's a solid album. I would probably rank this, if this was a studio album, I would rank this in between 12 and 13, in between Uno and Father of All Motherfuckers in quality. Some great highlights on this. Anyway, so that is my video. That is my ranking from worst to best. I promise I will definitely improve in quality of my videos in the future, but this is just the start of my channel. And I'm very passionate about music in general, especially Green Day. So I thought this would be a very fitting first video of my channel. Anyway, who knows when I'll be back. I hope to see you guys soon, though.